I started recording this. I wish it was a bit interactive. I guess you can comment in this chat. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you? Kelly, say something? I'm just gonna give 1 or 2 more minutes until everyone joins. Okay, there we go. Good. Hi, Norbert. I'm glad that you guys can hear me. Okay, I'm just gonna give 1 more minute. No way. Okay, so great. I was waiting for me to start the broadcast. I was supposed to click a button. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, so now you guys can hear me, right? And I guess this is recording. Yes, thank you. Okay, awesome. Okay, good. So I guess we can start. So welcome everyone. My name is Marina. I've been a Bubble developer for, I don't know, maybe more than 6 years now. I've been building, lately, I've been building mostly AI apps. I know that's a trend. So that's why this session. But I've been building all sorts of apps from streaming platforms such as Netflix, kind of Netflix for YouTubers. I've built like a tennis coaching platform, again, a lot of streaming platforms, all sorts of things, CRMs, marketplaces, different kinds. But today we are here to learn about the latest options that OpenAI has enabled with the latest GPT-4o model. And that is, it's enabled us to do JSON formatting, JSON structured. This is very important because a lot of the data that needs to be processed with AI is usually very unstructured. For example, you have a document such as, I don't know, like a resume or an invoice or any sort of document that you can read through with any kind of OCR. But in order to kind of to utilize that data that's inside those documents, you need to format it in a specific way, and then we can feed it into Bubble, which is very easy, and I'll show you how. And that's when the data becomes useful. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen, which is like this. Okay, share my entire screen. Okay, picture in picture, that's fine. I can do this. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen and maybe see me right here. I guess that's the, yeah, okay, cool. And yes, great. Okay, so I'm gonna start here. So this is the latest model, GPT-4o. Actually, like a few days ago, there was one other model, 1.0, but we're not interested yet in that model. We want to see this one, what the capabilities are. So this is the option, the type of JSON output. We can do JSON output, but we can also do JSON schema. We're interested in the JSON schema type today. So the response format, previously, when you could give instructions to GPT to kind of give you an output in a certain JSON that you provide in a JSON format, but it wouldn't always listen. It would sometimes hallucinate, and that's bad. Right now, with this response format option, it will always follow the same structure. It would never hallucinate. It would only give you the output in this very, very strict format. And that's awesome, especially when we're handling unstructured data and we want to utilize it in our bubble apps. So as you can see here, we have a type of JSON schema, and JSON schema is a way for us to kind of tell the model, this is the JSON output that I want you to give me the data in. This is the JSON structure. I want the JSON to have these kinds of properties. I want to have these kinds of items, these kinds of output, so we can kind of give directions. This is what I want to see in my JSON output. So I'll go ahead in Bubble. I'm going to create, whoops, that's a little preview, but I'm going to start everything from scratch so you guys can kind of build this by yourself. Okay, I'm going to add another API. I'm going to call it OpenAI API. And I want to do an API call. Let me just copy and paste some of the things. I don't just, it's a post method. Again, we call for the same chat completions format. And I'm going to copy and paste the first part of the JSON, which is something that if any one of you has ever worked with any kind of open chat models, this is the format you would typically write your JSON in. And as you can see, this is the model. It needs to be like 4.0. It doesn't necessarily needs to be like this latest. This is just the data of the latest version of the model. And again, we send messages. The messages can be role. Again, this is the same logic. So you have system messages, user messages. You can also do a system messages. But the difference is the second part that I'm just going to do is the response format. And we need this response format in order to get a JSON out of OpenAI, out of GPT. So in this specific JSON schema, I want to have my MAC response, which is what I'm asking GPT to solve. I want it to format it in this way. I want it to be an array of items, and I want each object to have an explanation and an output. Both of them are strings. Both of them are required, so it will always try to find those answers. They can be also not required, which in that case, GPT will leave them empty. But one thing that is very important for you to kind of remember is that the strict needs to be always true for you to kind of always get that JSON format. That's one thing to remember, but that's it. I'm going to initialize the call. Oh, I'm sorry about this. I need to add authorization, and of course, this is something that is very, and I need to add the headers content type, application JSON, blah, blah, blah. There we go. Okay, connecting, and voila. So now we have a content that is a JSON file. Let me just quickly remove those brackets so you can kind of see what's going on. And I'm doing that on the side because there's no need for you to see that. And I'm going to just put it here. in this JSON formatter, JSON lint, and there we go. So now we are seeing an array of steps how GPT came to this final answer, and it always gives the answer in this specific JSON format. And this is what we want. Okay, so this is the demo example that OpenAI has given us. Right now, I want to implement a real life scenario, which I've personally used in one of my apps, and that is formatting a resume data. So I'm going to copy and paste, and we're going to go over the JSON. Okay, I'm going to name this call resume data new because I already have one. And I'm going to add another JSON here. And this is what I want to get. So I'm giving it instructions as you would prompt any sort of prompting in OpenAI. Important thing for you to remember, and this is sort of like from experience, I've learned this the hard way. And it's nice to always have two types of messages. So one would be a system message where you would give your instructions to the model. So in this case, it's like your helpful recruiter can read resume data, extract the details from the given resume, and then in another message, which is a user message typically, here's the resume data. And this is where I'm sending you all the data that you need to read. Okay, I'm going to make this unchecked because I want to use it in my apps as an action and as a parameter. And then I'm going to paste some random resume data. Okay, so let's see the response format that I want to extract from the data. I want to extract. This is my JSON schema. It's called resume details. It can be named anything, but I want to get these kinds of properties. So I'm creating an object section with the several properties. First one, name. And this is very important to understand. The type can be anything like string, Boolean, number, integer, whatever. But this is very, very important for you to provide a specific description for each property. And this is very similar to prompting, but it needs to be short explanation of what you want GPT to put here in this specific field. So for example, full name of the candidate. I can also do first name of the candidate, and it will listen to find for the first name, or I can do last name. But this is sort of like another way of prompting. As you can see here, I have the email, description, email address of the candidate, and then contact number. Contact number is phone number or contact details of the candidate in case there is a missing phone number, it will give me an address or something. But I can also do just phone number. Again, all of these are required in my case. You can remove one of the parameters here, and strict true. That's very important. And let's see how it actually works now. Okay, so let me see the raw data. I can see that it returned a JSON, which is awesome. It returned a name, returned an email number, and a contact number. I'm saving this. So now I want to use it in my apps. I want to process a resume that I can extract data from it. Okay, I already built something very, very simple, which is a file uploader, submit button, and then a repeating group that is searching for resumes. But before we get into all of this, I want to go back to, this is a secret weapon of Bubble. And this is a very powerful thing that I've learned like probably a year ago. It's a way for me to send data to Bubble by using the API connector. And it's very, very simple. I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, I'm just gonna spend this API call and show you what I mean. So I can copy and paste, I can actually get the JSON from OpenAI, from the response. I can paste it here in the body as a body, but in my backend workflows, which I'm gonna go here, I have set up an API workflow and I can detect the data, and I'm just gonna initialize this call. I can paste the URL as a post method, paste it, reinitialize the call, the endpoint that I was successfully initialized, and then I have all of the fields for me to use in my apps, which is very handy. And you can do this with all sorts of JSON formats. And after that, after I receive the data, I create a resume, and of course, request data name, request data email, and contact number, which is pretty, pretty awesome. So let's see how to use it. So after I upload the resume, I have installed an OCR plugin. You can use any kind of OCR. I just prefer to use this one, to be honest. The Google Cloud one is probably one of the best OCRs. OCR, for those who don't know, is another AI method of reading images, PDFs, any sort of visual files. This one, I think it works specifically with PDFs and images, PNGs and JPEGs, but you can find different kinds of OCRs on the internet. So I prefer to use this one. And this one is this specific step is to convert my PDF into text. That's it. So I can get from an uploaded document, I can get a plain text that I can later on send to OpenAI. So step one, processing this. Step two is getting the data and sending it to this, here as a parameter in my body. Okay. One thing that I always do when processing JSON is I replace the quotes, which I don't need. I replace them with nothing. You can also replace them with backslash quote. And then I also do this because sometimes when it's unstructured data, you can it can be returned with a lot of empty spaces, which can break your JSON. So you use this regex pattern to kind of find all the white spaces in between text, and I just do replace by a simple space. That's it, and it works all the time. Send email is just for me to verify if it returns like a proper JSON, and then I send the JSON to my Bubble app. Something that is very important here, you have to authenticate your API call when doing this. So the way to do that, you go to settings, you create an API token, and then you add that token at the, and then you add that token at the end of your URL. And let's see how that actually works. Oh, the email step. Yeah, the email step is just for me to verify that I am whatever the output from OpenAI is. I receive an email in my inbox, but that's like for debugging. You can completely remove this this step. Okay, so let me upload. I have a bunch of like random test resumes here. Submit. It takes like a few seconds. Doesn't take long. GPT-4o is super fast model. but for the sake of doing demos and webinars, we're gonna wait a lot longer. Okay. Yeah, usually this is executed, yeah, on the back end. So there we go. So I got the name, I got the email, and I got the phone number, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so any questions? I know this may be like a lot, but it's a very, very useful, and you can build very powerful apps by doing this, because having unstructured data in a structured format, it's super powerful when handling like data, document data, or any sort of data for that matter. Like you can scrape an entire website and you can pick the lines of whatever you want from that uh, data, that text, which is pretty amazing. And then by doing this little trick in Bubble, you can send it back to Bubble. Yes, so I've done scraping from YouTube, but that has nothing to do with AI. It's done with PyTube. It's Python library. PyTube, I think it was called. Yeah, this one. JSON to API call. Yes, I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, so let's do it from scratch. Okay, so creating an API, which I'm gonna call JSON to Bubble. And this is a simple API call. You did post method. I can add, so I typically add dynamic URLs because I use one API call for many, many data detections. So that's why I have like a dynamic URL here. And this is where you would add the backend workflow. So okay, I'm going to create this test data, detect data. I get this URL. I add it to Bubble. And here you can have any sort of JSON. Let's do what I want to do. I can even do like one parameter. Let me just, I'll just do this. Name, Marina. Now initialize the call, and then I get this. And I can use this field, for example, create a new thing. Let's say resume, name, press data, name. There we go. Very, very simple. And you can put any JSON. I can even do this one. I can even do, so I'm just gonna do detect data again, paste this JSON, reinitialize the call, and then save it. Here we go. I have steps as a list, and then I have explanation, output, and I have the final answer here. So I can use them here. I can do steps, first item, explanation, and so on and so on. Okay. Do we have any other questions? And should I go like back to a certain point? Yes, it is always dynamic in my case. So let me show you how that will look like. It is actually dynamic here. So all you have to do is add the value, but it can be anything here. It can be an arbitrary text. The Google OCR is a plugin. Is this one? Very nice plugin. And unfortunately, I cannot show you because I have it set up for my company. I cannot show you the setup, but I can send you like documentation. It's called Document AI. It's this one. And you have like instructions on how you set up this into your Google Cloud Console and how to use those keys. Can you show the goal? CSVs have different objects in them. Yeah, you can choose whatever you want the AI model to detect in a text. You can specify that in the JSON schema. That's what's nice of it. Like you can change this to look for, I don't know, anything. Like you can change this to look for address. And then you need to specify like uh, address. You can specify anything. Um, Oh, it's just raw text. The response from the OCR is just text. It can return like pages, which is a number, but then you want the text, which is yeah. I to scrape audio files, you use Whisper for transcription. Whisper is probably the most advanced AI model there is for at this point. Like it can even detect very, very poor quality audio files. You're welcome. Okay, well, I hope you learned. I know I scheduled. Oh, yes, sir. One more thing, find and replace. I always do this, remove the quotes, and I also remove extra spacings. That's what typically breaks a JSON. Uh, yeah, and I've found that if I do these things, it won't break my JSONs, and I use this a lot. But sometimes special characters can break your JSON, so it would be nice to find like a regex pattern that would detect sorts of things. But uh, double quotes are the most common JSON breakers, and the extra spaces, like line spaces, typically. And this one detects just that. This will detect every empty space that you have, whether it's like in one line or several lines. They replace it by one single space. Yeah. Yeah, I wish I can see you guys and like talk this through, but Kelly, maybe for the next time. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, any questions that you might have, you can follow me on Twitter. I'll leave my, I'll, I'll leave my username in the chat. But yeah, reach out. Let's talk beyond this webinar doors. Okay, I'm gonna stop my share now. And yeah, thank you guys for joining and listening to me. Okay, bye everyone.